listening to the Deep Purple Podcast, a fan podcast about one of the most legendary bands of all time, Deep Purple. We take a look at the music, history, and people behind the band Deep Purple and beyond. Welcome to the Deep Purple Podcast, the first and only podcast devoted to one of the greatest bands in rock history, Deep Purple. Today's episode is episode number 233, John Lord, Before I Forget. And coming to you from the forgetful suburbs of Chicago, I'm your host, Nathan Beaudry.
And coming to you from the suburbs of Providence, I'm your co-host, John Taza Matola.
Taza? Like the chocolate?
Hell yeah.
Is that stone ground chocolate?
Hell yeah.
That stuff is awesome.
That is the best chocolate I've ever had. Like, you know, they have bars, but you know what's the best?
The Trivial Pursuit.
Those little discs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you break it off, and then you break off the little triangles, and you eat them, and then you it's all like sandy in your mouth, and then it just dissolves, and it's like, so fucking
it's like
good.
The texture of it. It sounds maybe it's not you saying sandy doesn't sound very appealing, but it's
gritty.
Stone ground. It's just it's so good.
Yeah, maybe sandy was it's very like gritty. You have like this kind of gritty texture in your mouth, but it's like it's good. It's chocolate. They actually had like a Taza. I think they had a Taza like a chocolate bar somewhere in Boston. I had gotten a hot chocolate with it.
Oh, like a Taza, like a bar, an actual bar.
Yeah,
that you go to.
Oh yeah, not like yeah. They had a big chocolate bar. They probably had one of those too. But no, yeah, they had like a drink bar, and it was like several years ago, but I remember I got it with like Taza chocolate and the hot cocoa, and it was like, But yeah, just like breaking off the little things of that disc and eating it, it's just like, it's the best. I had some earlier. Actually, this one was like a bar that I got, but it had like coconut in it, which I'm indifferent, coconut, no coconut, whatever. Some people hate it, some people love it. I'm just like, if it's there, it's fine. But now I have like little things of coconut stuck in my teeth, kind of like popcorn kernels. So I'm kind of going like.
One year for Christmas, they made an eggnog flavored one. It was awesome.
Oof. Oh, you know what? I had that.
Yeah.
My favorites, my favorite ones are like they have like the hot chili pepper one, the vanilla.
The vanilla one is good. It's just plain vanilla, but it's really good.
Yeah, I've definitely gotten the eggnog. I remember that one. I think it was they put it like it was on sale somewhere when the what do you call it, when the holiday was over, and I grabbed January,
trying to get rid of it.
Grabbed like a bunch of them. Yeah, I'm just like, we're not going to be carrying these anymore. I'm like, I'll take them. I'll eat them in July. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, that's really good stuff. Taza chocolate. The Deep Purple Podcast is brought to you by Taza Chocolate. Taste the stone ground deliciousness. Hey, what do you want for a free ad?
You gaffed that up. But no, I don't eat it nearly enough. But if I remember to all the time, I would. It's expensive too.
It's funny you mentioned that because I had like a stockpile of it, and I would eat it all the time years ago, and I hadn't had any for years. And then a few weeks ago, I had the vanilla one because I was like, I've never actually had the plain vanilla one. It's like, this is really good. Good stuff. Check out Taza Chocolate. Where are they? I want to say it's like Mexican chocolate, but I don't know I don't know where it's based out of. Oh, it's based out of Somerville, Massachusetts, your neck of the woods.
That's probably why they had the bar.
Yeah, the bar
in Boston.
There you go. Definitely next time I'm in Boston, we're gonna have to go to the Taza bar. Deep Purple Podcast coming to you live from the Taza Chocolate Bar.
So anyway, as we're sipping our cocoa.
Well, if you want to sip cocoa with us, you could buy us some cocoa or some Ko-fi. You could support us on Ko-fi if you want to buy us a coffee or a cocoa. But other ways to support our show, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. You can buy some merch at our Etsy store. You can become a patron on Patreon or on PayPal for as little as $1 a month. All the proceeds go back into the show, into supporting us and helping us grow our new computer fund and all that happy horse crap. And then you can also donate on Cash App at $DPPOD. So speaking of patrons, at our executive level, at the in memoriam tier, we have the wonderful Jerry Kelly and his family. Big thank you to the support that he gave us during his life, and we remember and honor him always. At the $25 Uncommon Man tier, we have Ovis Nakvi and Purple Maniac. At the 15 Squid tier, we have Alan. At the 10-pound Good Doctor tier, we have Dr. Mike Catan. What the heck is it? Somebody get me some doctors. If anyone has any ideas on how to better organize these other than a big list, let me know. I need some sort of something to help me trigger these. At the Turn It Up to $11 tier, we have Clay Wambacher, Frank Thielgard Mortensen, Mickelstein, Will Porter, PH, DPP. Then at the $10 Someone Came tier, Ryan M, Jeff Bryce, Victor Campos, and Better Call Saul Evans. Then, of course, at the Hughesoween by 2033 tier, we have Fielding Fowler. Hughesoween by 2033. It's just way too late. But, yeah.
I love it because you do the Dracula voice, and then there's a werewolf, and then just like another vampire comes in at the end, like bleh.
Another Dracula appears.
Another Dracula appears and is like, by the way, bleh. in case you didn't get it the first time.
Exactly. That's perfect. Speaking of Apple Podcast reviews, oh my goodness, we have another 5-star review. This one's coming from Extra Awesome from the UK. 5 stars. The title, Great Fun DP Pod. And the body of the the body of the review, been a DP fan since '88. My first album being Nobody's Perfect. Probably not many who started there. Seen them countless times over the years, but still have vivid memories of my first at Brixton in '93. Oh wow, he was there. Anyway, a great pod with Nathan and John sharing their love for the band and its offshoots, often finding the absurdity in some of the goings on over the years. Highly recommended. Phil in Ross on Y, UK. So thank you, Phil. Really appreciate that. And I'd say we're kind of in the same boat. That I don't know if Nobody's Perfect was my first album or introduction to them, but it was damn close. If not the first thing, it's one of the first things I ever heard by Deep Purple. So, and we still haven't covered it yet on the show. So there we go. But the real question I know that you're all clamoring for is, was that 5-star review the 100th review? Let's see. Judges? Close. We keep getting closer, guys.
Jeez.
I know.
Man, what the hell?
Just John's really disappointed.
I mean, I want to know what the victory song is going to be.
I'm still trying to get in touch with Rod Roddy so he can tell you what you won. All right. You get a copy of the home version of the Deep Purple podcast. You can play at home.
Was that two dummies sitting around every Monday at 7:00 in their pajamas talking about Deep Purple?
Preferably pantsless. So, yeah, if you're looking for like-minded podcasts, single band podcasts, deep dives into bands, check out deepdivepodcastnetwork.com, where we got all great bands. You're looking for a podcast on Queen? We got 2 of them. You're looking for a podcast on Van Halen? We've only got 1. Most of them, we only have 1. Red Hot Chili Peppers, they're doing Genesis now, although it's not a Genesis podcast, but they're reviewing like the Genesis albums, and then they're moving on to do other things. We've got Ozzy, Black Sabbath, Lynyrd Skynyrd, you name it. Skynyrd Reconsidered is back after a long hiatus. They've had a few episodes out. It's one guy. It's our good friend, the Simple Man. He's had a couple episodes out, and he recently did a bonus episode with Rye where they were talking about one particular song that they both really love by Lynyrd Skynyrd. So check it out. Okay, so before I forget, John, we should talk about Before I Forget. What do you what if anything memories you have about this album? Any history with it at all?
I don't. I don't. Honestly, with a lot of um John Lord solo stuff, I really don't. I don't know it that well. So
This
this
is
one, I don't even think I don't know if I've heard of it. Believe it or not.
I've heard it, but I didn't get it until later because it was one of those ones that was always floating around. I just remember seeing the elephant with the trunk tied up and seeing that in record stores along with Saraband, and I remember you always just going doing the shh in Tower Records or wherever we would see it. Um, but yeah, I didn't
What a
get it.
goof.
I didn't I didn't get it when we were kind of in the thick of it back in the day. And it's not one that I've heard a million times, but I do overall have pretty fond memories of it. So it's going to be fun to revisit it here tonight with you all.
Well, I'll visit
Um,
it.
or visit, yeah, revisit or visit. Um, So there was like a special release in '94, and I think another one in '99 that's got some pretty good interviews and stuff with John Lord. So I pulled a lot of stuff from that for the episode, and I think we'll kind of get into a lot of the specifics. Much like I'm trying to think of recent episodes, like our like our LA Blues Authority episode, and even like our New York tribute episode. Every track is like a different selection of John Lord's friends and players and everything. So you'll see a cast of some, probably for most of you listening, some very familiar characters and some people that maybe you're not as familiar with, that you'd expect to see on a John Lord album. So should be really a lot of fun listening to what all of them bring to each track. But he called the album Before I Forget because he had these songs all kind of rattling around in his head for 4 or 5 years, and he kind of said he just made this kind of jokey title, like I better record these songs before I forget them, and actually kind of flesh them out. Um, he says in the interviews that the songs were, four of the songs on the album were autobiographical about specific instances, and the other four were just kind of feelings that he had been wanting to put on tape. Um, the vocals, uh, there's a lot of backing vocals by Sam and Vicki Brown, which we'll get into later. Vocals and backing vocals. Um, uh, they asked. It's basically a bunch of John Lord's friends. So he was asked by an interviewer, was there a downside to doing an album with just your friends? And Lord said, there's a danger. You're in there that it could become a party rather than serious business of getting down to something that you believe in onto tape. But they all know me well enough and respect me enough, I think, to do a lot of what I tell them to do and be known that it should degenerate into a party. Although there's a lovely little story about the track I did with Bad Company on here on this album. I did two with them one night, and the first night we got down perfect, which was the one on the album, and the second one was supposed to be this kind of really heavy chugging song I'd written called Going Home, about something that happened to me when I was down out broke in London, and Mom kept ringing me up and saying, come home to Leicester. So he said he wrote the song. It was supposed to be really heavy, and by the time we got to that one, which was the second one, Bad Company had consumed a fair amount of various liquids, and instead of being junk, 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 it ended up being ding, 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 and rather than a jolly little ditty, which didn't fit the words at all. So it ended up being kind of a happy-go-lucky song when he's trying to be all down and out. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the little background of what he did here. In production, we've got Mike Johnson as an engineer. He worked at Britannia Row Studios. So this was recorded at Britannia Row Studios, which was Pink Floyd studio, which I think they built right before they did Wish You Were Here. And then later on, Nick Mason took over full ownership. So I think they recorded Wish You Were Here and Animals and part of The Wall here. So Animals, my favorite Pink Floyd album. So this album has got some really great history. Mike Johnson worked with Joy Division, Bernie Marsden Solo, and Soft Cell. And then the producer, along with John Lord, is a guy named Guy Bidmead. A guy named Guy. He worked with Yes, Noel Redding, Automatic Man, which is Pat Thrall's band, Trapeze in the after the post Glenn Hughes era, and Elvis Costello. And that brings us to, if I can pull it up here, the album art, which I know you have seen a million times. John, what do you think of the cover of Before I Forget?
I think I have seen this album cover.
You had to have. It was always in those bins with like import, and it was you're probably one of the things that kind of
Yeah.
forced it towards the back burner for me was it would have been one of those rather expensive imports for us.
What year was it? Did it come
82.
out? Oh, okay. All right. So he was in Whitesnake when it,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I definitely seen this. I think it's a cool album cover. I mean, it's I like it's kind of on the nose because you like
Yes.
forget elephant, you know.
Yeah. And
Um,
yeah, I like the fact that the elephant, which for whatever reason has the reputation of being having a great memory, and then
I think
having
it's
its trunk tied in a knot, like to as an
to help it
extra
to help it remember.
to help it remember. So this is like something that's never going to be forgotten. This elephant, he's like looking at you like, I got it, man.
Well, I
Never
think it's
forget
like
it.
elephants are like have very good memories. I think maybe that's why they remember a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but like, why do we know that?
I I
I
don't
mean, it
know
must be
because
like some science behind it, but like, yeah, it's like, oh yeah, elephants. They're super good at like. You just ask any schlub on the street and they're like, oh yeah, elephants. They're really good at remembering. Like, but like, what do you? And they're scared of mice. Those are like, and they love peanuts. That's like the only things you really know about elephants. But like, where do
name me
we
another
get those
three
from?
facts about elephants.
Yeah, can you name three other facts? I don't know if you can.
No.
Big
Um,
ears, big ears.
all right. Yeah, true. Obvious.
They can
Um,
shoot water out their trunk. We've seen that in cartoons enough times.
hmm And
And if they see a mouse scurry by, they'll jump onto a stool like a little housewife. If
but this elephant is very cool. I think the illustration is really really detailed. Like you get that really that the crackled
mm-hmm,
dry
mm-hmm,
skin. You can really tell he looks kind of mad. You know, he's got the big tusks. His eyes are red to match the background, which
mm-hmm,
the background is like this nice kind of like red orange, like an
mm-hmm,
orangish kind of red, not like a fire engine red, but kind of like a deep red with a little orange tone in it. And yeah, I think it's a really and then the John Lord logo mirrors the kind of elephant, the
mm-hmm.
look of the elephant. Um, so yeah, it's pretty simple, but I think very unforgetful. You know
Aha.
what I'm saying?
Very memorable.
But yeah, it's a very good cover, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome covers. Only what, four colors: white, gray, red, and black. Very simple, but like you said, yet the detail on the elephant is really great. But it's overall just a super simple album cover. I think it's really memorable. I think that's one of the reasons it always stuck out in my mind. Was seeing this in the stores and always just wondering like kind of what is this album about, and I'm not sure why I never really made that purchase like in the 90s when we were starting to see these imports around town and Boston and stuff, but I never really dove into it until much later. But
Could
it's
have
a
been
great one.
money.
Uh,
You know,
it
you said
was
it was probably one of the more expensive
Yeah, it was
imports,
one of those
so
ones that at the time when CDs would have been like 10, $11, this one was probably 18, 19. So you're like,
hmm.
I'll get something else for that amount of money. I'll get two albums, but
Well, I mean, especially if you're a kid that's broke,
yes,
what are you buying it with,
yeah, I don't know. Where the hell were we getting our money? I
right?
don't know.
I'm
The illustration was done by a guy named Brett Irwins. He only did a few album covers, but he was best known for his work on the comic book Judge Dredd. So he was a comic book artist, and you know, it's funny he didn't do any of the album art for like Anthrax, because they're always
yeah,
talking
right.
about Judge Dredd. Well, at least in that one song.
Yeah, always.
Always. It's all they talk about, Anthrax. We're gonna have to
Yeah, if
get
you
you some
listen to
eye
that
drops,
one
John.
song over and over, then yeah.
Um, so yeah, he passed away in 2015, unfortunately. Photography for this album by Martin Goddard, who worked with Blondie, Wham, Genesis, UB40, and Elton John. Also, art direction by David Larkham, or is Larkhamy? I think Larkhamy. He worked with Elton John, Dominic Troiano, who is Tommy Bolin's predecessor in James Gang, and then also Joe Morawski, who worked with Pete Townsend, Pat Travers, Slade, and the Robacks' favorite, Rory Gallagher. So that's kind of a breakdown of the album cover. The labels themselves are pretty straightforward. Harvest, back to the Harvest record label, front side 1 and side 2, and then the back of the album cover is like cool. It's like a dinner napkin that's tied at one end, so it's again they're bringing back that knot motif, and then it's got just the track listing, who's on each track, the little acknowledgments and stuff, and then there's just an awesome black and white picture of full walrus stash John Lord with the sunglasses.
Full like Jesse Ventura-esque John Lord. Come on, those guys were like, yeah, you ever see those two guys in the same place at the same time? I don't know.
Yeah. All right. I'm Jesse Ventura. That's terrible. There's this guy, James Adomian, I think is his name. He does an amazing Jesse Ventura impression.
I was just thinking of him where he's just like, look at how oiled up he is, McMahon.
Yeah.
It's like he was like, sounds kind of homoerotic, doesn't it? He's just like, look at how oiled his body is. And he's just like, yeah, he's incredible. You remember the one he did on the whole thing he did on the 80s supervillains?
I don't know if I saw that.
No.
No.
I think he did one where he was like talking about like the Transformers and like Cobra Commander and everything. He's like, he goes, the Decepticons were just like, he goes, just like a bunch of like drag queens. It's just like, stop the stream, get over here, you bitch. It was just like stuff like, it's like, seize them. It's just like very, very dramatic. You know, it was like, it's a funny bit.
I'm going to look that up. I heard him on a podcast, like a comedy podcast I listened to, where he was doing Jesse Ventura, and he was clearly like somebody doing an impression, but it was at a certain point I was like, I don't know, I think this might actually be, because his impression is so good. I was like, this might actually be him. Is he just like joining on and being funny about it? And then I just kind of looked whenever I pulled over or whatever, I looked at the show notes. I was like, oh, okay, it's somebody doing an impression, but it's just such a good impression. He's got it down 100%.
Oh yeah, no,
Jesse
it's
Body.
yeah, that's one of those, I mean, he's one of those guys that I think is on the fringe. He's not, as popular as somebody like these days, like say like Louis C.K. or Jim Gaffigan. Yeah. You say that, most people know who they are, but he's, I have a comedy playlist on Pandora, and he popped up on one of them, and I was just like, I was dying when he did the whole 80s supervillains like Skeletor and all those, and I was like, oh man, this is like hilarious. But his album, at least at the time, like the full album isn't really available anywhere, so trying to well, I mean, streaming, I mean, I'm sure that you could find it someplace, but I'm trying to find it because it's like, I've heard a few different tracks from that. It's like, it's always like really funny.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
That'll be our bonus episode. We'll review that album. But all right, so that's kind of the kind of rundown to this album. If we're ready to kind of start talking about it and getting into tracks, I can of course thank our next level of patrons, which would be our core level patrons. Coming in at the $7.77 Keep It Warm Rat tier, we have Michael Vader. At the $6.99 New Nice Price tier, we have Spike the Rock Cat and Sugar Tea. At the $6.66 tier, we have Steve Coldwell, Arthur Smith. We have Anton Glaving, Charles Meadows. At the $6.65 Almost Evil tier, we have, of course, Kenny Wymore, Michael Bagford, and Richie Sucksmith. At the $5.99 Nice Price tier, we have Robert Smith, Peter from Illinois, and Carl Hellberg. And at the 60 kroner tier, we have Newt Morton Johansson. It's a great life if you know we can. At the $5.55 What's Going On Here tier, we have Richard Fusey. And at the $5 Moneylender tier, we have John Convery, German Heindel, Adrian Hernandez, Jesper Alman, Alexei the Perfect Stranger Slepikov, Kev Roberts, Percival Frequency, Scott Zerns, Cynthia Doobie, Raf Calf, and
Blackmore tights.
oops. And Coyote Bongwater. You got a little bonus there, Blackmore.
Unexpected bonus pops.
Bonus Blackmore tights.
And that was the non-cough version.
This is why I don't pre-record this. You wouldn't have that spontaneity of me screwing up something somewhere every week. Okay, so this album was recorded September 1981 and February 17th through March 4th, 1982 at Britannia Row, as we talked about. Put some links in the show notes to that studio if you want to look at more about it. I'm sure some of your favorite albums are probably recorded there as a big studio. And then that's it. We're here. We're ready to get into the tracks. This is an 8-track album, 4 tracks on one side, 4 on the other. And it opens up with this one, which is called Chance on a Feeling. So we got some familiar people here.
Almost sounds like a Whitesnake track from
Well,
around this time.
Ian Paice on drums, Neil Murray on bass, Bernie
That's
Marsden
why.
on guitar.
That's why. Is it Bernie on vocals?
Yep.
Wow, I got a good ear, huh?
You sure do. But yeah, it's unmistakable.
Oh yeah, that's some Neil Murray right there.
I love that. That like it almost sounds like a sequencer, you know. A lot of Moog synthesizer on this album.
Got a really upbeat type of feel to it.
Great opener. It's Vicky and Sam Brown on backing vocals, a mother-daughter team.
Was this maybe where Kirk Van Houten got his idea for his single, Could I Borrow a Feeling?
I don't know that one. Nice Hammond solo right off the bat. Definitely sparks questions about what it would have been like with Bernie Marsden and Deep Purple.
All right. I mean, really showcasing Bernie throughout the song, too. So, I mean, you got him on guitar and vocals.
Unmistakable pacey groove there. John Lord in an interview said that for these solo parts for the guitar, they pointed the guitar at a wall and we leaned it back on some bricks to accomplish this sound.
Wow.
Kind of had like so it's a little more indirect sounding.
Some great rockin' stuff.
Chance on a Feeling. I feel like we're reviewing a missing Whitesnake album all of a sudden.
I know it's so funny that I said that because as soon as it kicked in, I'm like, all right, it sounds like Whitesnake in '82, and you're like, well, it
Pretty much
it is minus Coverdale.
Exactly.
So good stuff.
All right. So what do you think of Chance on a Feeling?
I'll give that one a solid 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's what else can you say about it? I think it's great. You get what you expect from those musicians, and it's a great song too. And it's like yeah, it was really nice to hear some Bernie outside of a little after our episode and everything. It was kind of cool to hear him featured here. It was a nice unexpected surprise.
Yep.
But always great to hear his playing, his vocals. I mean, this is a little more restrained. I mean, in our Bernie episode, we heard him really let loose and rip in a lot of songs, and this one he was just he didn't go nuts, but I mean, I like how he kind of dueled back and forth a little bit with John Lord. Excuse me, like early Deep Purple style a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, great performances all the way around. Nice mid-tempo rocker.
Absolutely.
I enjoyed.
I will also give this one a 4. Super solid opener. Love it. Love the feeling of it. Really brings me to that, this whole era that I really, really loved, where all of these guys, in my opinion, were just doing great things, whether in and out of Deep Purple. It's just yet another great example of it. As far as this song, this is one of the autobiographical songs. And when asked about this in an interview, I'll have to do my John Lord impression, but his answer set was, towards the end of Purple, of the deep variety, the bass player was a gentleman called Glenn Hughes, and he had a smashing girlfriend who I fancied something rotten mate. And being a gentleman, I nicked her, didn't I? Right from under his nose. And this is a kind of very simple song about that rather complicated situation. So it's a song about stealing Glenn Hughes' girlfriend, who he later married and stayed married to until he passed away. So
Jeez.
Clearly it worked out. And yeah, that's all I got. There's actually I think it's the '94 release, has it has a few bonus tracks, and then there's an interview at the end with John Lord. So some of the stuff I have is taken from interviews from that interview, and then there's also a good interview in one of the liner notes that I'll throw some stuff in for. But yeah, so he was using a mini Moog on this, and keyboards, organ, piano, and the synthesizer being the mini Moog. And then there was a lot of talk on a 70s Weekly podcast recently about, do you pronounce it Moog or Moog? And I remember me and Paul always used to call it Moog when we first learned about it because of Andy Moog, who was spelled the same way, the guitar player for I'm not the guitar player, he was the goalie for the Boston Bruins.
The guitar player for the Boston Bruins.
He may have been a guitar player, but that I'm not sure of. And he was like, I thought he was like the greatest. Like he was one of my favorite players. And then like other people would call this Moog, and I guess I found an interview with Bob Moog, who founded the Moog synthesizer company and everything, and he said he's like basically like, well, in Dutch it's pronounced Moog. He's like, and that's just too crazy. But the Germans pronounce it Moog, and then English people pronounce it Moog, and his family is like split 50-50. Some call him Moog, some call him Moog. But he says him and his wife decided they wanted to pronounce it Moog. So I'm like, I guess that's how it should be pronounced. But I remember having to train myself to pronounce it Moog, but now I'm training myself to pronounce it Moog again. So that's the kind of the exciting things that happen in my life. All right. The next track up has some familiar faces as well. And this one is a track called, this sounds like it could be a Whitesnake song as well. The track is called Tender Babes. The title sounds Whitesnake. The song itself, not as much.
What do we have on it?
Neil Murray on bass, Cozy Powell on drums, and that's it.
Oh.
And one of the things John Lord talks about is they didn't use anything other than rock instruments for this album. Even sections where it sounds like it might be orchestral, he's doing that with synthesizers.
Yeah,
More
see,
ripping on that bass.
that's one thing that I really, I admittedly never dove too much into John Lord's solo work, because I thought that like a majority of it was orchestral.
It is. Yeah.
But I mean, I never knew that he, like on his own, would did a rock album. Even though, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it's been a rock band. Although this sounds very orchestral in a rock, setting.
It sounds like something that Rainbow might have done with Ritchie, you know? Who had a similar idea. I love what he's doing with the synths in this. He said he based it on a song from the 16th century by someone called Thomas Tallis. Oh, listen to that bass. He said he heard this kind of thundering drums coming in the beginning, and he said, who's the best thunderer in the business? Rosie Powell, so that's why he brought him in for this one.
Yep.
Oh yeah, and then it goes back to the kind of...
Almost has like a Blackmore's Night feel to it, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
Which, I mean, makes sense if he took the inspiration from a song from the 16th century.
Something that's a good old Ritchie trick.
No, I mean, it has that kind of Renaissance fair type feel to it. So,
But with like a absolutely rocking middle section with the best
yeah.
bass fills I've heard. I think pound for pound, Neil Murray might be the best bass fill guy ever. His
Yeah, I'll have
fills
to
are just
say, yeah,
unbelievable.
anything that he's been on that we listen to, I'm always impressed. I'm never like, nah.
Yeah.
It's like
Neil
always
Murray,
awesome.
yawn. Yeah, he's always just like throwing in these things that just like, and it's like even though you could listen to it and say, oh, it's like too busy, it never is. It's always like appropriate. It always just sounds great.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, what do you think of Tender Babes, the song,
Ooh.
not the creatures?
Not the not the actual Tender Babes.
How do you feel about Tender Babes in general?
Um, I'll give him the 3. Um, I mean, I thought it was good. I mean, it was points for an interesting concept. Like, I think it's cool. First of all, I mean, you got those 3 musicians together. I mean, that's, no slouches there.
Quite a trio.
Just, having bass, drums, and keyboard, and that's it. No, just an instrumental, no vocals, no guitar, no anything else. Pretty cool, pretty bare bones type of arrangement, which is good. it just I think it lacked a little something for me to push it over the top to a 4. But I mean, I did like the concept. I like the bass fills. I like, John Lord doing his thing. Cozy in there obviously sounded huge. But it's I think it's one of those, like, when I get an instrumental, typically, I like a rock instrumental guitar based. So with something like this, it's a little harder for me to kind of follow. So I grooved along with it, but maybe not something that I would put on separately, but would, if we're listening to the whole album, I would leave it on.
Gotcha. All right, I'm gonna give it a 3.5. I really like it. I like it's definitely I like that it's got that little intro outro thing that is very, very understated and then comes out and just kind of kicks your ass for a while and then goes back into it. It's a really, really solid tune with some great playing all around. The next track up is a track called Hollywood Rock and Roll. Got that like clavinet sound there.
Yeah.
Now this song is basically Bad Company with John Lord. You've got Boz Burrell on bass, Simon Kirke on drums, Mick Ralphs on guitar,
And vocals.
and vocals by, you know the name, none other than Tony Ashton.
I was gonna say, doesn't sound like Paul Rodgers to me.
No. Yeah.
Sounds like Tony Ashton.
Yeah, this song would have been right at home on Chase Ashton Lord.
It's got really a butterfly ball background vocals feel.
Yeah, just those kick-ass British background singers.
Hmm.
So he said this is Hollywood rock and roll is my reasonably friendly comment on the first time I ever came up against American A&R men. So you bring them an album on which you've slaved over and loved for months and honed to perfection, and the first thing they ask is there a single on it. He said to get that effect, I wanted to get Tony Ashton to sing. He's not a technically qualified singer, but he's good in his old style, the sort of throwaway humor. So I guess he purposely didn't fade the song at the end. So in this one, does it say what John Lord did? I don't, but I assume it's using clavinet or clavinet's patch or something. Just Tony Ashton cracking everybody up.
as per usual.
As for, I mean, I don't know how you could be hanging around Tony Ashton having a bad time. I mean, guy's just a laugh a minute. All right, what do you think of Hollywood rock and roll?
I'll say that's a 3, I would say. It's
What have you done? John is fumbling with the spreadsheets big time today, folks.
I fucked up the spreadsheet.
He added in a third column.
Oh,
That's
I gotta.
a heck of a way to tell me we've got a new host coming in. There we go.
There you go. How the hell did I do this?
I don't know. Are you doing this on your phone?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I can't get my numbers back?
It's got to be hard to kind of do a spreadsheet on your phone. Well, I guess you've been doing it for this many episodes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's. You know what? God damn it.
Well, you figure that out. I'll tell everybody I'm
there
giving it a 3.5.
Okay. All right. There we go. Well, I mean, I could have just said, "Hey, Nate, put in the 3." There we go. All right. So yes, a 3 for Hollywood rock and roll. I think it's just not only I think the addition of Tony Ashton, he's grown on me in the past few years. I know that early on I was like, but it's like the songs that he's a part of, like songs like this, very whimsical sounding. And it's the vocals, the background vocals, kind of a little bit of a callback to something you might hear on the Butterfly Ball, and just the arrangement of the song just sounds very very snappy, very whimsical. So of course Tony Ashton vocals are a kind of a no-brainer. And it sounded like he was kind of a little bit down in the mix. Like he wasn't like right up front being
quiet.
like, well, doing that kind of thing that he usually does. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I think it was another one that yeah, I don't know if I would seek this one out either. Maybe listen to it as again part of the whole album, but not rock and roll enough for me. Kind of almost like a novelty type of song.
Mm-hmm.
I which
love
I think
it.
most Tony Ashton songs are. I think.
I love it. I think it fits in with the Pace Ashton Lord stuff, and then John Lord says the track is really bad company minus the singer. Mick Ralphs, Simon Kirke, Boz Burrell with Tony Ashton singing. The polyphonic brass sound comes from the opus, meaning the Moog opus. I like the synthesizer to suggest traditional instruments. Tony Ashton does the vocals with a sort of spoken singing style. And he says the Germans call this Sprechgesang. Let's see, Sprechgesang. Can you hear that?
Yes, I think you said Sprechgesang.
Sprechgesang. Let's see here. Let's try that again.
Sprechgesang.
Oh, that was really low. So it's like a sort of spoken singing style. I don't like fade outs, and I managed to find a good stopping place in this one, and that's where they just kind of have everyone just start laughing and call it a day. But I like this one. I dig this one a lot. I like this album in general. I think it's a fun, lighthearted album that just has that it might be one of the later albums to really capture for me that Martin Birch, Roger Glover production style of maybe 4 or 5 years earlier, where you're just like, it's just got that, I don't even know how to describe it. It's got a certain feeling to it. And this one just kind of continues that right along, even though, I mean, a lot of the musicians are the same, but none of the production folks are really the same at all. So, all right, that brings us to the conclusion of side 1, which is the cleverly titled Bach Onto This. You know you're going to be getting some Bach, obviously. Ah, Bach. this is Neil Murray, Bernie Marsden, John Lord, Simon Phillips on drums. So all familiar names and all monster players. I feel like we've covered other versions of the song on John Lord episodes sometime in the past. I just can't remember when.
Yeah. Is this instrumental or?
Yep.
So far, really great.
This got released as a single. It must have been an edited version because this is 8 minutes long.
Yeah. See, this is like this instrumental I can follow along with because you have this kind of main
Like a
main
hook.
part here. Yeah. Yeah, hook, exactly.
It's not just a bunch of. That reminds me, I got a email. Oh no, I'm sorry. It was a comment on YouTube about our Glenn Hughes episode that we just did. Oh, it was Phil S. writes in saying that he wants to reimagine John Lord, like Glenn Hughes calling John Lord wrong Lord.
Oh, there's so much going on here. I don't even know what to listen to.
I know, like, this would be a great one to have all the isolated tracks. I could just listen to Neil Murray's bass track all day.
Oh yeah.
He's using organ, piano, and for synthesizers, the Polymoog, the Mini Moog, the Moog Source, the Moog Opus, and the Micro Moog. What the first Simon Phillips, I think the first Simon Phillips thing we ever covered was on David Coverdale's White Snake album.
Yeah,
He was a
maybe.
drummer on that, and then he also was a drummer on Elements.
Oh, so really, this is another version of White Snake,
Yeah.
so to speak.
I'm sure you've seen like the ads for this one. It was something they kind of repurposed a lot, but it was a picture of Bach wearing sunglasses.
I'd have to see it, but possibly, yeah. Sounds very rainbow-like.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, due to the inspiration, you know.
It's a very eclectic album so far.
It is, but cohesive at the same time.
And I think in one of the interviews they asked him, like, oh, are you going to tour for this album or anything? He's like, no, I'm basically just going right back on the road with Whitesnake.
I mean, given the musicians on this, it's cohesive.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice end. Nice ending.
Hear that cymbal ringing out. At least I think it's a cymbal ringing out. But okay, John, Bach onto this. What do you think?
You know, I'll give it a 3.
Mr. 3 today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I thought it was good. But I would say it kind of lost me halfway through. With the, I liked it. I thought it was good. But I think it was maybe a little too long. You know, like I can appreciate the dynamics and you know, and the soloing that we're doing in the middle, but then it kind of got lost on me a little bit. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But I mean, I did like the dynamics. I did like the kind of how Lord is really, I think what really ties it together is Lord and like his musical influences, because they're not really all over the place. And I feel like because it's a Deep Purple family album, the fact that this is kind of a, not a, for lack of a better word, like a traditional album. You listen to like all the tracks and you're like, oh, this is one type of music. You can be like, yeah, if I'm a Purple fan, then I could be into this.
Yeah.
So,
For sure.
and yeah, that's not to say that it's not good. I mean, I would definitely, like, if you put this on, I would definitely rock out to it. But yeah, I would say like probably my biggest criticism is a little bit long. So it's not, tightened up enough. But I mean, I know they weren't going for, well, I mean, you did say this was a single, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know how they determine how they release a single in this situation, and I'm
Yeah,
sure,
because I was
like I
going to
said,
say,
it
like,
had to have been edited down. They're not going to release a 45 with an 8-minute song on one side.
yeah, I was going to say, like, yeah, if you're going for a single or for like airplay or to get, some kind of attention with it, maybe cut it down to 4 minutes. But
Yeah, and yeah, I think there was definitely a part, that halfway point, where you're like, yeah, there could be a hard break here, and it would have worked. But I'll give this one a 4. I really like it. I think it's a solid close to the side. I like the energy of it. Like the playing is obviously, I mean, you're not gonna. We might as well just state right now, you're not gonna hear any bad playing on, I mean, anything related to Deep Purple, but
No, nothing on here is bad.
Particularly with the cast of characters we've assembled so far, you know what you're getting. So
right.
Which leads us to side 2 of this album and the titular, Before I Forget. Now this one is Sam Brown and Vicki Brown on backing vocals, Neil Murray, Ian Paice, and John Lord, of course. So Lord said he used the Polymoog cello with the strings filter and the French horn sound from the Mini Moog. And he used the flute with digital echo panning to achieve what we're hearing. And I should mention also, all the songs at this point have been solo Lord compositions. Lord said this song is about memory, and he tried to say it. There's no lyrics, so he tried to say it in music. He said originally he was hoping to get David Coverdale to sing it, but he couldn't get the words right, so...
that would have been great.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine him singing this like kind of like a Time and Again or a Blind Man sort of thing.
Oh no, by 82 I think he was too horny. Wouldn't have been able to do it.
He'd be all heavy breathing in the mic. Before I forget, let me get in your pants. As we record, just announced, Glenn Hughes coming back in February, baby. In California.
Oh, don't tell anyone. It was supposed to be a secret.
It's official now. I hope nobody at the show told anyone. Well, since our show came out today, that episode, so we should be in the clear.
I think Neil Murray is just too much for this song.
Oh, I disagree. Wow, that was really Pink Floyd.
I like how it built up to that.
Not to sound like the youth, but this song is a mood.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe. It's like somebody's trying to rizz me up. My kids hate it because I intentionally misuse all of their dumb expressions.
Oh, of course you
I'm like,
do.
I'm like, no cap on God, on God. I'm like, you're saying it wrong, Dad.
Why? What's the right way? I don't even know.
I don't understand all this new. We need a new. We need to call up what's her name from the Providence Journal and see if she can write an updated version of.
Yeah.
Because it's like we need a glossary.
Yeah, we do. We need a new glossary.
So my son's always trying to riz me up by by calling me baby girl.
Does it riz you up?
It does not riz me up.
Oh.
Gets my dander up. Before I forget, we should rank this song. What do you think about this one?
Now I give it a 3.5.
All right.
Thought it was very good. I really I really enjoyed the slow build up. I was waiting for vocals because you were talking about like, oh, I wanted David Coverdale to sing it. So I'm like waiting for some vocalist. And then I'm like, but I mean, you know what? I think it works great as an instrumental, and it's really it's a vibe.
Yeah. I don't know how you would fit vocals into that. I mean, it's a simple song, beautiful song.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound incomplete. It sounds like, oh yeah,
No.
this is how it should be.
No, not at all.
You've got there's backing vocals listed on several songs in this album where there's no actual fronting vocals. And this is another one of them. I give this one a 4. I love the mood it creates. It's very like moody, sort of atmospheric sounding song. It had that that little which really sounded like a Pink Floyd fade in, but then it completely went in a different direction than Floyd would have done. But really, really like the sound, all the production on it, the playing. Obviously, like we said, not going to find any bad playing on this album.
Nope.
Really great track. Which leads us to our next track. And was there anything I forgot about this one? Let's see. Yeah, I think that's about it. I think we talked about all that other stuff during the song. So that leads us to our next one, which is called Say It's All Right. This was written by Lord and Gantry, Gantry. Elmer Gantry.
So who's on this?
Backing vocals by Sam Brown, bass by Neil Murray, drums Simon Phillips, guitar Mick Ralphs again, Vicki Brown on vocals, John Lord on everything else. Lord said he got stuck halfway with the vocals, and that's when he asked Elmer to help him out with the remainder. John Lord said, I would like to see that particular lady, Vicki Brown, get herself a solo deal because she does have a really quite remarkable voice. The only problem she has is she's married to Joe Brown. And he said, I didn't mean that, Joe. Great lady, smashing voice. The vocals are so incredible. Ralphs again. Ralphs was the founding member of Mott the Hoople, and of course Bad Company. So she's backing herself. Her and her daughter are backing herself with the backing vocals. Reminds me of a reminds me of one of the more serious Pace Ashton Lord songs, but Say It's All Right. John, what do you think of this one?
You know, I don't know. I might get some shit for it, but I'm gonna give it a 2.5.
Oof.
Just middle of the road, not bad. You know,
Really?
yeah. It didn't hit me. You know, didn't move me. I mean, I'm not gonna deny that there's good singing, good playing, whatnot,
Grand
but
Funk.
yeah, but it's not Grand Funk. No, but it's no, it didn't do it for me. You know, I didn't find in it what I was looking for. But I mean, objectively, a good song. It's just it didn't hit those heights for me.
It doesn't
So
move you. Doesn't have the power to move you, as Tenacious D says.
yeah, so I average.
All right, fair enough. I will give this one another 4. I think it's very it moves me. I am
Very good.
moved. I am moved almost to tears, mostly because of your 2.5, but no. Yeah, just like I love the singing. Then when the backing vocals come in, it's just those backing vocals. I don't know what they're doing and what the harmony exactly is that they're doing. It's just like, man, gets me every time. And it reminds me of those, like, what's the song? Gonna Stop Drinking, I think, off of Malice in Wonderland, where they just have those, it's just like a sad, sad song, but this sad guy who just can't get his life together. And like when you hear those backing vocals, it's just, man, it's magic.
Hmm.
But, all right, next track. Oh, is there anything else about that track? Let's see. Say It's All Right. I think that's pretty much everything. So that brings us to a next track, which is called Burnt Wood. And here we go. So he's using the synth to mimic the wind. This is just Neil Murray and John Lord. His house was called Burnt Wood, so this is kind of him imagining the wind blowing through the trees of his home. Said he's trying to evoke the English countryside with this one. The interviewer compared it to Evangelist's Chariots of Fire, but John Lord said this was written before Chariots of Fire. Maury's playing an area fretless bass. Exactly. My first bass was an Area Pro 2. It's a piece of junk. And they said in an interview that people at EMI told John that they wish they had a film to put this in because it would have worked really well as a film score. Another one that could certainly fool people into believing there was orchestral instruments involved. There's a good part in the interview too where John Lord's talking about his piano technique as opposed to organ technique and how he had to kind of learn all these specifics about how to play legato on the organ and stuff. It's pretty interesting. Definitely check out the liner notes from this if you're interested in hearing what he has to say. All right. That is Burnt Wood, summoning the feeling of the English countryside. John, what do you think of that one?
Let's see. Yeah, that was really nice. I give it a 3.5.
Very nice.
Yeah, really, really nice, mellow instrumental piece. Yeah, I don't really have much else to add, it's I feel like I'll save my thoughts for the very end.
Okay.
Like as a whole, because I know we're almost there.
We're almost there.
But yeah, I feel like it's pretty good, but again, doesn't doesn't 100% hit the mark to get me like completely interested. It's more like mood music.
Yeah. I think that's
which I
fair.
think that's what he intended it to be, but because like you said, he's trying to evoke a mood. So
yep, I think he's succeeding. I also give this a 3.5. I really like that little piece. It's a really beautiful little piece. I'm thinking about the English countryside right now, so it must be working.
I bet.
Last track up is the song Where Are You? This one features John Lord on keys and vocals by Elmer Gantry.
Waking from
He said he liked his kind of raspy voice. This is about John Lord getting snowed in and stuck in Philadelphia.
Hmm.
The gigs had been canceled and he was just kind of annoyed, so he sat on his little portable keyboard. And he said he wallowed in misery and came up with this chord sequence. Maybe this will be my new song I play when I'm waiting for you on the stream. Where are you, my friend?
Just can't carry the alone, nobody's with me. I see it's just another town along the road. Along the road. Mirror on the wall. Show me a whiskey smile. Pack my bags and fall. Fall down the next long mile.
So interestingly, this guy Elmer Gantry was part of a bogus Fleetwood Mac. So he's kind of the Rod Evans of the Fleetwood Mac, although he wasn't actually in the real Fleetwood Mac.
The new Fleetwood Mac.
The new, yeah. It's funny because we talked in that episode all those years ago about how that was kind of a thing for 6, 7, 8 years of these bogus bands going around. It's also said here that the ending invokes the composer Debussy, which I am not knowledgeable enough to confirm or deny.
Mirror on the wall. Show me a whiskey smile. Pack my bags and fall. Fall down the next long mile. In a land of fools, where the madman rules. Where are you?
There's a little bit of a Tony Ashton quality to his voice.
Yeah, more I'd say more singing and less
Yeah, a little more melodic.
Sprickazong.
It's really loud.
No, that was about right.
Was it? Okay. On my end it sounded very
Yeah.
loud.
Well, I feel like John Lord must have, for his solo material or material outside of Purple, like preferred this style of vocalist.
I can't remember if I thought this or if I already said it, but it reminds me of Tom Waits.
I think you thought it.
Okay. It's like Nate's repeating himself.
Well, now you said it.
It sounds like some Tom Waits. Oh, is that rag? All right. Before I forget, the final song, Where Are You? Where are you? John's already dreading coming in to our next Zoom meeting 1 minute late, and I'll be like, "Where are you?"
Well, it's better than the hello text.
Yeah,
I hate that shit.
that's why I do it.
Uh,
I'll just send you. I'll do you one of those text messages that's like a recorded audio. And you'll press it. And be, where are you?
that would make me laugh, actually. So yeah, do that instead.
Yeah, I'll do that instead. All right. So what do you think of Where Are You?
You know what? I'm gonna give it a 4.
Oh wow! Oh my goodness!
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it, and the thing that did it for me is that there was a part in the middle that reminded me of Time and Again by Coverdale, where it kind of like, went from because at first I'm like, all right, this guy's like this kind of raspy voice type of a singer, kind of Tony Ashton-esque, but then it went up a little bit, it kind of elevated a little bit and got a little more emotional. And I think that's kind of the intangible, like you can't really describe like what makes a song move you, and I was like, yeah, that did it for me. And just listening to it, it kind of almost had this poignant, like, this is the end of the album type of song, very emotional and in a different kind of way, because when you have that kind of really kind of raspy, broken down sounding voice, there can be two different effects. And and I mean, not to mention like Lord's excellent playing as always. Just very, very simple, very kind of heartfelt tune.
Yeah. Cheers to that. I'll give it a 3.5. I really liked it as well. Really delivered really well. And I like, my favorite Deep Purple song is John Lord, accompanied only by Glenn Hughes. So like having one of those songs where it's just one instrument, if you can do it well, and Time and Again is again a perfect example. It's just like, what is it, piano and synth and vocals, or just something. If you have a strong enough melody and a strong enough performance from the singer, that can be really, really powerful. I think this song nails it pretty well. It's a really, really good song. All right. Well, folks, that is, before I forget, and, while John fumbles with the spreadsheet, I will do something else, which is to thank our foundation level patrons. Coming in at the $3.50 Deep Purple New York tier, we have none other than Lord Longford. Coming in at the £3 aromatic feed tier, we have Simon Ford and Richard Brees. At the $3.33 halfway to evil tier, Stephen Sharp and Duncan Leask. At the $3 Nobody's Perfect tier, we have Peter Gardot, Ian DeRosier, Mark Roback, Stuart McCord. Then we also have Ivan Fjeldbu, Runar Simonson, JJ Stenard, Ruinous Inadequacies, John Maselli.
You're going to get into college on the strength of your academic achievements, not on what you wear. But let me ask you a question. Does this color wash me out?
Michael Boyette and
What a clown.
and Corey Morissette. At the $1.71 I Want My Own tier, we have
Rich, Young, Shaylor.
at the 10 kroner tier, Karsten Lau. And at the $1 made-up name tier, we have the Drip Onto This, Leaky Mausoleum, Stephen Somerville, the Concerto 1999 Fanatic, Hank the Tank, Private Eyes, Ashen Lionel,
Blackmore tights.
Steve Down to Earth Kohler, Zwapper the Electric Alchemist, Anders Engstrom, and Ashley Still I Hear Burn Rose. Thank you so much to all of you for your generous support of the Deep Purple podcast. And now it's the time of the show you've all been waiting for.
Bill John's busting it down the spreadsheet, and he's fumbling with the tabs. Oops, he sorted it the wrong way. Now he can't tell what is bad.
All right, I don't know what I was just playing. I was playing a clarinet or something.
I still miss that version that you played a few times where you're like tabs. It came in like really loud, and then you had to like re-edit it. Like it was sounded really out of place. I thought it was.
Well, you know what? If you're not careful, I might just sneak that one in on you one time when you're not expecting it. So after this album, well, actually, before we get to that,
before we forget, before I forget, let me tell you what the ratings are. Damn it!
Yes, please. Oh my God! Where you just had the cursor, it was like, oh no, it can't be that low.
No, it's.
I turned it on and it was like hovering over one of the Warhorse albums, and I was like, oh my God!
No.
I
not
thought
that
we were,
low.
I thought we were liking that album. What's going on? Okay.
No, it was a 7.06. You liked it. You rated it higher than I did, but it is in the lower half of our ratings, but like higher half of the low. So it's not like down toward the bottom, but it is down there a little bit. It's got the same rating as Funkist by Bobby Harrison, and a little bit above Deep Purple Abandon, which was a recent review, but just by a little bit. So that's where it's hanging out.
And the difference that it's one of our biggest variances, honestly. Along with Stormbringer, surprisingly.
Really?
Wizards Convention, which are both very highly ranked, even still. And I thought our biggest variance ever was Who Do We Think We Are? It is. Oh, it is still by a long, by almost double the variance here.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, don't be confused with that, my friend.
Don't get it twisted.
But yeah, before I forget, don't forget that. But yeah, this I would say this it was a good effort. It was a good album. But I really I feel like for my personal taste, I wish that there were more songs on it, like the opening track.
Yeah.
Like Chance on a Feeling, because that's the type of stuff that I like. I was kind of hopeful that it was going to be more of that, but I mean, you also have, John Lord as a musician. He's a composer. He's experimental. He's, you know what I mean? He's not just going to do a straight ahead rock album. I mean, he could, but he chose not to. And I mean, this is also, we remember he did this with, like you said, a bunch of friends, other musicians. So it wasn't like he went in with one cohesive idea or vision. But I think that that's a thing that I was going to say before, with that other song is just like, I feel like some albums are meant, to be kind of ambient, they're kind of meant to be background music. Personally, like I said, if we were hanging around, you put this on, we wouldn't be like sitting there like this, like, scrutinizing it or something. It would be cool to have on in the background. But, as a group of songs that I'm like, yes, I have to listen to this again. I'm going to blast this in the car type of thing. Like, probably not. But I'm glad we heard it.
Like a quality to it, like where it wasn't 100% ready or finished. And I kind of like that. Like there's some albums that I really dig that are like that, like like Share Kazoo by Ian Gillan. Like I love that some of the stuff sounds like it could be almost like a demo. Some of the stuff sounds like it's not completely fleshed out yet. And I've always really loved stuff like that. Jeff Buckley's sketches from My Sweetheart the Drunk, which was, an album he was working on when he died, and it's, sad, but they kind of released it posthumously. So you get a mixture of these songs that sound like honestly pretty poorly recorded demos and songs that sound like they're almost 100% ready. And I like that kind of dynamic of just hearing what it's like, picking up somebody's sketchbook or picking up somebody's notebook and reading through it and looking through these things, that some things are more complete than others and some things are totally fleshed out. And I always kind of like getting those sneak peeks. Sometimes it's intended, sometimes it's not. But there's something about that appeals to me, and that's, I think, what I really like about this album. It's you might get a fully, like, Chance on a Feeling fully formed song, and then you might get something else that's just, Neil Murray on bass and Lord on keys. And even though it's obviously well arranged and it meant to be finished, you've got this wide spectrum of full band stuff and just two guys playing together. And I don't know, I really dig that sort of stuff, and I think that's why this album resonates with me. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Fair enough.
All right, so I don't think this song did anything in the charts. I couldn't find anything, at least. He was asked by the interviewer what his next step would be, and he said, "Well, I'm going to make another album in a year's time. Maybe I might make one a year after that as well." But his next solo album didn't come out until 1998, Pictured Within. So it was a while. Oops. Lord said this is the first solo album he ever made without an orchestra, and I think it probably remains the only one as far as I can think of. The only one bearing the John Lord name. I think everything else had orchestrations or was fully orchestral after that point.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of quick reviews. One of them is from Stargazer, issue 26, November 1982. It says, "Chance on a Feeling is a lovely song, all about John stealing Glenn's girlfriend during Mark IV Deep Purple days. Back onto this is what John refers to as a piece of 8-minute madness, the old Hammond swirling and letting rip. Great stuff. Before I Forget is the best track off the album and one of the best things any member of Deep Purple has ever done." Wow, that's a high claim, I think. Say it's all. What's that?
Also false.
Yes, I mean it's good, but that's quite a claim. Say It's All Right sounds like a combination of every Radio 2 ballad I've ever heard. Burntwood is very like Aria off of Saraband. Overall, a good album with some lovely piano on the last track to finish with, and a very Ashton-like vocal from Elmer Gantry. Also, like right after that in Stargazer was talking about rumors about Deep Purple reunion happening, which of course would happen a couple years later. Then we have a review, let's see if we can find it, from, where is it? This review is from Kerrang! Howard Johnson, good old Hojo, reviewing...
Hojo.
Good old Hojo.
Hojo.
Reviewing the album, Hojo says, "John Lord has played keyboards in two of Britain's most successful bands, Deep Purple and Whitesnake, but neither of these groups have ever consistently sparked off that certain something in me. The electric buzz alerted when you know what you're hearing is pure dynamite. Before I Forget spans the width of music written by John outside of Whitesnake, deemed either unsuitable or not good enough for the band's repertoire, depending on your point of view. I would suggest unsuitable for, in some strange way, the album triggers off that reaction within me mentioned earlier. It's neither contemporary or original, and I'm usually no great organ lover, so to speak. Yet Before I Forget boasts a great deal of charm, spanning a wide variety of styles and hanging together convincingly, with John, a master of his art, having a thoroughly good time. Chance on a Feeling is melodic hard rock, while Tender Babes is a galloping keyboard frolic. These numbers are the pick of the upside, while the instrumental Burntwood and the moody introspective Before I Forget are the highlights of the flip, labeled, not surprisingly, the downside. Negative factors are the tired Hollywood rock and roll and the sub-Barbara Dickinson Say It's All Right, but a good album, the contents of which should be pursued at leisure." So, there you go.
All right.
Fair review from Howard Johnson. Yeah, that's Howard Johnson from. I know he wrote for Kerrang. I can't tell on that article, but it must be from Kerrang. But before we wrap it up, I do have one thing to do, and that is
What?
oh yeah, you can't hear it. Listen
You
to the audio
dummy.
podcast.
You dummy.
Merchandising.
Wait, oh, I love that clip.
We gotta get something out. We gotta get something off of something away from Zoom. This is going back and forth between what you're sharing is ridiculous. It's very annoying. Okay, so sorry to my YouTube people who just looked at us standing there for a minute saying nothing,
Including me.
including John. So Jeff Bryce sends over he's got his single here, which we talked about. So that's the flip side. This is the Bach onto this that we talked about. It's the Bach with the extremely hastily drawn sunglasses. It's a great picture.
Oh.
And then the side one is Bach onto this, and side two is Going Home, which is a song they did for the album. It wasn't on the full album, but it is on that bonus edition that's got like the 5 extra tracks or whatever. It doesn't say the times on this, but yeah, I mean, again, on a 45, I don't think you're fitting an 8-minute single. Then we've got this ad from the Bach onto this single, also available on cassette. I think that's probably from. This must be from like Kerrang or something. Yeah, it's Kerrang. And then he's got there's a bunch of liner notes, and one of them has got a really great picture of John. Here we go, John Lord, a bearded John, looking almost like Martin Birch there.
Yeah.
Playing on one of his synths with a speaker like directly in front of his ear. Like,
oof.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty. But this is from this must be from the Stargazer. So really cool stuff. But yeah, not a ton on this album. Wasn't like a mega release or anything, but that's kind of the stuff that we've got. And for more information, I've got a link to the digital version of Stargazer that you can look at, and there's some other information there too. But that's it. That's before I forget, John. Any closing thoughts?
No. I knew that would get you.
Every time, yeah. I'm gonna take a long drink from my drink while John just waxes philosophical about the album.
Nope. No, I said what I had to say before is I mean, there's really, I mean, really think about it. I mean, any direct descendant from the original or classic line, anybody that's actually been in Deep Purple, I mean, with very few exceptions, Warhorse, there's really nothing bad that these guys could do.
No.
I mean, Ian, Roger, Ritchie, Ian, John, Glenn, Coverdale. I forget anybody. David. No, but all these, Tommy Bolin,
they're all putting out quality music. It's just
exactly,
a matter of, and that's the cool thing about it is there can be some. It literally spans the spectrum from full on classical arrangement, concerto, whatever you want to call it, to heavy metal and everything in between, jazz, blues, you name it. And there's something in there for everybody. And the cool thing about it is I've always found I can appreciate all of it. There's just some of it that I gravitate to more than others.
Exactly. And I mean, if you think about it this way, it's like even not a great John Lord album is still a John Lord album.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, we're lucky that we had as much varied and diverse music from him as we did. So this one definitely not a failure, not bad by any means. Like, I think that it was a fun listen. I'm glad that I finally got to hear it.
The John Lord album is better than the best Nate and John album.
Yeah. For a minute, I'm like, well, no, what was there even
I
to
don't
think
know.
about?
We had some pretty good stuff.
What is there to even think about? Well,
Well, that's debatable.
what about that one song we did?
That'll be our next episode is going to be stacking up our solo material with the.
We could work, but like we could work till the end of time, and like John Lord obviously can't release any more music, and we would still be outpaced by him. We'd be like, I can't.
He could fart into a box and record it, and it would sound better than us like giving it our all.
Oh.
Or he could fall onto his keyboard and it would sound better than anything we could do on a keyboard.
It's like Trip going down the stairs and his keyboard is like
Yeah, the tubes rattling. That's awesome.
And then we spend like a year trying to write one song, and it's like, no, John Lord tripping down the stairs and dropping his Hammond is still better.
I like that he's trying to carry his Hammond, 600-pound Hammond down the stairs. Whoa!
I'm not talking about like, a friggin' steep flight of stairs up an old like 3-story apartment. It could be just like 3 steps.
He's carrying it to his walk-up apartment.
Who knows? Maybe no. I was gonna say, who knows? Maybe he tried.
Yeah, good. That's why he sawed it in half. Apparently, it's easier to move.
See, exactly. But anyway.
All right. Well, there you go. Another solo album in the can.
Another shorter episode.
Another shorter episode by a little. Well, it's actually
technically
for us it's pretty short.
Technically.
But it's a short album. So thank you everybody for listening. Check us out again next week, where we'll be coming at you with allegedly a live stream. So we'll have to see how that goes. I'm excited about that one. So.
Ooh.
All right. I'll check you later and talk to you next week, my friend.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Deep Purple Podcast. If you like what you hear and would like more episodes in the future, please donate on Patreon to support the show. You can also leave us a review in Apple Podcasts to help new people discover the show. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for show updates. See deeppurplepodcast.com for more details. Thank you for listening.